Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. This is another what's for dinner video. I've got a few really easy dinners to share with you that we had recently, and I'm starting off by just kind of peeling, kind of not peeling, but you can do it however you want. I peeled about half the skin off, and then dicing up some potatoes, just however many you need for your family. And I decided to try pan frying them. I ended up changing my mind partway through here, but I'm throwing in some olive oil into a heated pan, and then we're going to, of course, add the potatoes. And then I just seasoned them with nothing fancy. I did some salt, some garlic powder, some onion powder, and some paprika. And my thought initially, I think this night I just needed something quick. I don't remember the reason, but I wanted something to quickly throw together. And so I was going to be using some kielbasa. That's kind of my go-to when I need something quick. And I was going to try to do it all in one pan, but then I realized the potatoes were going to take forever, and I was really going to have to babysit them to make sure they didn't get stuck. So after a little bit, I decided to turn on the oven and lined a baking sheet with some aluminum foil, spray it. You can see like the pan, yeah, everything was sticking there. And I just greased the baking sheet, and I transferred the potatoes and popped these in the oven while I worked on the rest. I just felt like it was going to get done faster that way. So now I'm adding in some more olive oil and just trying to kind of work off the bits, because that was like good flavor on the bottom. That was like all of the seasoning from the potatoes and everything. So I'm just kind of working that off with some oil while I cooked the kielbasa. Kielbasa is actually fully cooked, or I don't know if the package says kielbasa or if it says sausage. I always know this says kielbasa. There I was realizing the handle of my pan was loose, which is great because I actually really want some new pans. So maybe it's time for me to get some. And then I just toss in some frozen green beans. The kielbasa has lots of flavor on it, so I don't think I added any more in here. And I just like to get the sausage. I'm just going to go back and forth between calling it kielbasa and sausage since I'm not sure which to say. I just like to get it a little bit like browned on the sides. So I was kind of trying to move them around so that they were like on the pan, and then I would go around and try to like flip them and stuff. So it's already cooked, so it's not like that's a worry, but I do like to get all of that good flavor on them. Anyways, you don't have to be as particular as I am with that. So I don't have an actual recipe link to leave for you, but this is pretty much just the kielbasa, roasted potatoes, and some green beans. The green beans are frozen. The liquid from the frozen vegetable is kind of like enough in the pan, so I just threw them right in there and they cooked just fine. And I plated this all up, and that was our easy peasy dinner for this evening. You could add cheese or something if you wanted. It was very flavorful, really, really good. But yeah, a nice quick dinner to get on the table. So for this next dinner, I know we've made it before. I might have shared it with you in a video. I don't mind when I see recipes more than once, because frankly, when I watch people's videos, I don't always remember to like write recipes down. And I think real life is we don't always make new recipes constantly. So I'm sharing it with you again. Plus, I make the recipes a little different each time. Right now, I'm cutting up some carrots. This is like a beef ramen stir fry thing. I will leave a recipe in the description box below for you. But I'm just kind of cutting my carrots into matchsticks. You can, of course, just buy them, like the bags of them. But personally, I really, really, really prefer the taste of fresh carrots. I feel like they taste a lot better, and it's worth the effort for me. So I am just tossing in some olive oil in a heated pan. And this is just some diced up onions that I had put in the freezer. I don't know why I don't do that more often. Kayla from the Unmodern Millennial mentions it all the time. And it's so much easier when you're dicing up stuff to just cut up extra and freeze it. So that's what I'm doing there. Probably didn't even add in enough onion, but I was this evening not really wanting to cut them up. So I just did what I already had, along with some frozen broccoli. Now, I'm not following the recipe here. The recipe calls for fresh broccoli and some red bell pepper. It's all right. I started with the onions and the broccoli, and then I threw in the carrots because I knew the carrots would not take as long. So we are just kind of sauteing that until they are nice and tender. Takes a few minutes, and then we're going to take these off the heat, transfer them to a bowl, and then we're going to use this pan for the rest of yeah, for the rest of the meal. So now I'm going to cook up 1 pound of ground beef. I do put in some olive oil. Our ground beef is extremely lean, so I used to never do that because we always just had enough fat from the meat that I didn't have to put any oil in, but I always do that now just because, like I said, our meat is extremely lean. So while that is cooking up, I'm going to be making the sauce for this. This recipe, guys, is so quick and easy, and like, we love it so much. So I got 1/4 cup of coconut aminos, which you could also just use soy sauce, about a tablespoon of brown sugar, about 2 teaspoons of sriracha. It says 1 clove of garlic. I'm just doing whatever. The recipe also calls for a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, which I did not have any, so I just omitted it and it was fine. And then it also asked for 1 scallion chopped up, but I didn't have any of that either. So when I just don't follow recipes exactly. So we're gonna let that meat finish cooking. Yes. And then I also chopped up the broccoli while it was out, because the frozen broccoli I get comes in huge chunks. So I just chopped them up once they were cooked. And now we're tossing all the vegetables back in with the beef. And then I am just boiled some water and cooking 2 packages of ramen noodles. You're not using the seasoning, we're just using the noodles. We're gonna cook that up. And we're just kind of warming the vegetables back up since they had been out of the heat for a little while. And then once your noodles are all cooked, which only takes like, I think, 3 minutes, you're just going to transfer them to the skillet with the meat and vegetables. I don't know if I did this the easiest way. I didn't want to strain them, and I just, yeah, whatever. Toss it all together, combine the noodles and the meat and veggies, and then pour the sauce over it, and just make sure that all gets nice and heated through. And yeah, that is going to be it for this meal. Love, love, love this recipe. We both really enjoyed it. And I just had mine like this, and Jesse had his topped with some water chestnuts. For this next dinner, we just had breakfast for dinner, but I'm going to share a couple of recipes for you. But I'm starting by cooking my bacon. I like to do it in the oven on a lined cookie sheet at 400 degrees. I do cover mine with foil, which does make it take longer, but it keeps my oven cleaner. So start checking your bacon at about 400 or after about 15 minutes. All right, we're moving on to the pancakes. I will have the recipe linked below. I doubled it and it still didn't make a lot, but so please note that if you want to try this. But right now I'm grinding up some oats. I just use gluten-free rolled oats because that's what I had on hand. The original recipe, not doubled, is 1/2 cup of oats, 1 egg, 2.5 tablespoons of yogurt. I did use vanilla yogurt here, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 tablespoon of honey, and a pinch of baking soda. So you're going to mix your wet ingredients together, and then you're going to add in the oats and the baking soda. That's what you'll add in. And then you're just going to mix that together really well. On this night I was making the pancakes as well as French toast, because French toast is my preference. My husband prefers the pancakes, although he would have been fine with just French toast, but I wanted to do both, and he enjoyed both, so it all worked out. So we're just mixing that together. We're going to set that aside. I'm kind of getting everything ready at once so that I could just move from one thing to the next, because once you start cooking the breakfast food, it moves pretty quick. So I also have in a bowl that I just pushed back there some eggs for our scrambled eggs, and now we're working on the French toast, and I'm going to tell you what I did to doctor mine up. So I've got 2 eggs, and then I've got some vanilla extract and some almond milk. I don't know what ratio you're supposed to do for eggs and milk. I just do it till I know what it's supposed to look like, not too eggy. But I just say that for the sake of people who perhaps haven't made French toast. Now I am now adding in some vanilla almond creamer. I know you could use any flavored creamer, but that added a really, really great flavor. That was really nice. And then I sprinkled in some cinnamon, because why not? So I'm going to get started by doing the pancakes first. I've got some butter in my pan. The key, I guess, is to make sure that you don't do the pancakes too big and don't put them too close together. Don't crowd up the pan. So I just did 2 at a time. Also, I find when I try to do like alternative style pancakes, like healthier pancakes, they can be a little bit more finicky. These ones do come out nice and fluffy, as opposed to some other recipes that I've tried. But yeah, anyways, once I took the bacon out of the oven, I did turn off the oven, but I started keeping a pie plate in there with all of my cooked stuff to keep everything warm. So my pancakes and French toast, as I got them done, I just transferred them there to keep them warm. And I feel like, I know browned butter is not actually a bad thing. Some people, you actually brown it on purpose for certain recipes, but I did clean out my pan in between a couple of rounds of this just because it got a little too much for me. So I did a couple batches, cleaned it out, and did a couple more. So just throwing that in there for whatever that's worth. Now my pancakes are done, French toast is here. We're not gonna belabor this, but I will just show you one batch in case you have never made French toast before and you're just dredging it in that mixture, the egg and milk mixture. You can do it with simply just egg and milk and nothing else. French toast is hands down my favorite breakfast food. Let me know in the comments below, what is your preferred breakfast food of choice? As far as like, not necessarily what you eat for breakfast, because I don't always eat breakfast, but of the breakfast foods, what is your favorite? Now, I did want to show you, this is how the bacon came out. I wanted to save a dish, so I just put a paper towel there to soak up the grease. Whatever, you can remove it and put it on a plate or whatever. And we're going to scramble up some eggs, finish up the French toast, and then here is our spread. French toast and pancakes both were really, really good. Some scrambled eggs and some bacon. I'm not sure why, but that bacon was extremely salty, but I was cool with it. I like dipping my bacon in syrup anyway, so it was a win for me. This next dinner is a crock pot meal, although it does start on the stovetop briefly. I'm just heating up some olive oil in a skillet, and we're going to be making beef tips. So I'm using some stew meat. I will have the recipe linked below that I'm kind of following, and I am patting them dry as the recipe suggests as I put it in there. See, I'm not even wearing gloves this time, but I'm not having to mix the meat, so that is different. If you've watched my videos before, you know. Now, the recipe doesn't necessarily, no, I guess it does call for this. I'm seasoning it with salt. You would do pepper if you want, but I don't like to do that. And garlic, and then I added in some onion powder as well because this recipe did call for onions at some point, and and mushrooms, and I didn't feel like cutting up an onion, and I don't like mushrooms, so this is how I did it. So I'm just getting a nice sear, get it a little bit crusty on there. I'm seasoning the other side now. For just a few minutes on each side. I even tried to get the ends a little bit, but I don't show you all that because you don't need to see that entire process. But get it just seared on each side, and I just put that into the crock pot. And now we're adding in 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm also just going to be cooking some garlic here. This is also where you would do the mushrooms and onions if you wanted to. Saute for just a couple minutes. I didn't do for very long since I was only doing the garlic and get off all of the nice bits at the bottom there. And then I added in another tablespoon of butter and, I don't know, a 1/4 cup of flour. I'll have the recipe linked for you. I'm trying to find it. And you're just going to whisk that together until that is nice and cooked. Yeah, a 1/4 cup of flour. And then the recipe, this is again where I varied because I was missing some ingredients. The recipe calls for 3 cups of beef broth and then a 1/2 cup of either dry red wine or additional beef broth. So that's what I did. And then we're just whisking that together. And then I'm going to add in a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. And then the recipe calls for a tablespoon of red wine vinegar, which I didn't have. I do have that now. I've bought it since because I've seen it in recipes before and I just never have it. Then I'm adding in 2 teaspoons of tomato paste, some dried parsley, oregano, and thyme. And we're going to whisk that together. And you're going to try to get that to thicken up. So you're going to let that come to like a low boil and then reduce heat and let it simmer for a little bit. And then you're going to pour that in the crock pot and mix everything together and cook it on, let's see, high for 3 to 4 hours or low 5 to 7 until the beef is tender. Let me tell you, this beef, it came out so tender. Now you can serve this over mashed potatoes, rice, noodles. We decided to go with some egg noodles, so I just boiled up some water, cooked some egg noodles, steamed up some green beans, kept it nice and simple. Now I will say that the gravy seemed to be thinner when I pulled it out of the crock pot than when I put it in. So I did pull a little bit out in a saucepan, added in some more flour until I got a nice thicker gravy just because that's what we wanted. But that's really all per preference. So that is it. This dinner was so good, and the meat was super tender, so it was a win. And that's going to do it for today's video. I'm not showing my face on this one, just because I need to do this to be easier. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a ton. Subscribe if you are new. And guys, I will see you in my next video. I've been having fun creating lots of videos lately. So yeah, I'd love to have you stick around. Bye. See you soon.